Folks, hello and welcome to Gamers Health. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. With me, as always, on a weekly basis, is my lovely wife, Rach. And
Hello.
with us, we do have a very special guest, uh, author Daniel Hand. So, Daniel, welcome.
Me. Oh,
Yes,
right.
you. No, no. Well, I mean, trust me. I don't. I am not much of an author. You though are actually a published author of real work, not just like random RPG work.
Yeah, what's so cool is that it's like you have a career as a psychotherapist, and then I'm not sure how old you were or where your process started with the RPGs, but you've managed to mesh the two together and be an authority on being able to do therapy that is oriented around the RPGs to help people feel better and help people work things out in their lives. And yeah, it's very cool that two passions that you had come together.
100%. I mean, I've been. I was actually an author of fiction for a long time before my start in the written world was sword and sorcery, just going around with magic weapons, chopping off dark elves' heads because you've got
Yeah.
you that's what you do, isn't it? But the first RPG I played actually was a play-by-post writing exercise. Me and some friends. This is about 20 years ago. We just created characters and wrote a story telling what happened to them on their adventures. I was the bad guy, so it was great. I kept dropping little clues with the other players and just pitching their characters, not necessarily against each other, just like, hang on, what's going on? I thought this happened. I know you did. And led to an epic showdown in a temple, and it's just everything that we love about RPGs, except we happen to be typing it. This was back in the day when the internet was courier font and emojis was a smiley face and a sad face.
Oh yeah, pretty much the AOL's heyday.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Back when Yahoo was actually a contender.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
wow.
god, and CompuServe. Wow, that was
Oh
really good.
goodness.
I'm
Oh
gonna age myself.
yeah, so
I
that
could say
makes me feel
Prodigy, but
What
then
was CompuServe? Was that a store?
no, CompuServe and Prodigy were other things like AOL, but
yeah.
AOL cornered the market.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Um,
had the AOL.
yeah,
Mhm.
AOL had a disc in every store. It's like, do you need something for your coffee mug? Here, take this AOL disc.
Yeah, it makes a fantastic coaster. Yeah, just put it there.
God,
The first TTRPG I played, the first actual break the dice out, was comparatively recently. Actually, it was 2011, I think. It was The One Ring.
okay.
Because
Oh,
I am
really?
a
The Pulp-
huge Tolkien nerd. I live and breathe Middle Earth. I mean, oh, goodness, this shoulder, this shelf here is my Tolkien shelf, as is this one, but they're all the expensive books, so they're hidden behind the
Oh.
layer here. But yeah, so I got involved in that, and just you never you never forget your first. I just say that live on the internet? I
Yeah,
think I
you did, but
did. Yeah.
that's
Okay. And whilst all this was going on, I had a family. For long and convoluted reasons, my wife went to work after I had the baby, and I became a stay-at-home dad. So just spent a while with that perpetual damp stain on your shoulder, where they're just slobbering all over you and running around trying to clean up the wax crayon that they've scribbled all over the white carpet, and just sensible things like that. and I had to get a job at the end of it because, well, that's what you do when the kid goes to school. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I found myself in a position where I say, so then, and how does that make you feel? Tilting your head to one side and that sounds really hard. Yeah. And I'm a bit too much of a lunatic for my clients. They come in, I make fun of my clients. If it's like, oh God, you did that, did you? What a moron.
I laugh in identification because sometimes that is the most engaging thing that they find from you, that you can have humor with them, and with some of their darker stuff, like or just be able to have it on the table that way and introduce it.
I've got one client. Well, no, I finished with them actually. I finished with them 2 days ago. So I was like, no, not your client anymore. I'm finished with them. Really, really had big hang-ups about the fairer sex, shall we say.
Okay.
Just didn't know how to approach it. And so I just absolutely just took the piss out. Did she look at you weird? Oh, just because it makes him smile, and it realized, look, I'm not gonna use this again. I'm not gonna judge you for what you're saying. It's right. You just use your personality, and that's where the RPG comes in, because you create this character, this in a bizarre world, and just go crazy. I mean, think of some of the weird things that you've done in any RPG you've played, and then put that in a therapy session. All of a sudden, this 50-minute slot that you spent all week worrying about because, he's going to ask me weird questions about my childhood, isn't he? Now it's like, oh, great, I can't wait. I'll get to chop off that Hydra's head.
Yes.
Yeah,
the whole engagement aspect of it sounds amazing.
And you get to step out of yourself. I mean, I still remember when I was a rookie cop and I didn't know what to do on a certain situation. I would step out of myself and say, if I was playing an RPG, what would I do if I was role-playing a cop? And it would often give me the ability to take enough of a step back.
Yeah, because you had the role-playing before your career. So
right.
You could.
I was able to step back and go, oh, well, this sounds right. We'll go with that and see how that works. Absolutely. And I can see how that could work even with issues with socializing. If you can take a step out of yourself and be somebody else for a period of time, then it isn't you taking those risks. It isn't you putting yourself in that situation. It's somebody else.
Yeah.
And so like that client I mentioned a few moments ago, so we put his character into social situations with female NPCs. Cool. And it's a case of, well, see, just looking out the window, no, I don't think the sky's falling. I think the sky is still up there. So maybe, how about we give it a try in this world? And obviously that's shortening it down to a sentence,
right?
But you give them the opportunity to. You've got plausible deniability. I didn't do that. The character did that. So anything that goes quote unquote wrong, whatever that means, it's their fault. It's gonna go wrong for them. But then you can empathize with the character. Okay, well, what's the character feeling in this particular moment? Why do you think they're feeling that? And that just expands your emotional vocabulary, if you want to put it in snooty language. And then you can just practice over and over again. This is a certain situation. This is how I would like to approach it. Is that a reasonable way forward? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but there's no risks involved. You can chop somebody's head off in an RPG and not worry about repercussions. If you would try that in real life, I think maybe things might not go so well.
Yeah, a lot of explanation might have to get done. Tammy, welcome. That means I'm sure Tom is watching too. So I mean, and now that's an interesting way to put it too. Like you're saying, you can take these actions in game, and the repercussions don't follow you over into real life.
Hmm.
You can still take that experience and build upon it. And especially people forget that RPGs, uh, generally speaking, are theater of the mind. And
Yeah.
like I remember books that I've read, including Tolkien. Like if I think of the Lord of the Rings, I don't think of the movies. I still think of the images in my head from when I read those books initially
Hmm.
in my upper teens.
Oh, you go with what you conjured instead of what Hollywood conjured.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I have some vivid memories of that, and reading Elric and other fantasy fiction, and RPGs allow you in a lot of ways to experience that. So I can bring back memories of gaming when I was gaming in high school,
Yeah.
and I can almost smell the air, but I'll remember the experience of what the game session was about, what we were playing,
Hmm.
and I think that's important, especially somebody who's and I, folks, I'm the amateur here. I'm not the professional. And any kind of training I ever had in like psychology or social work was learning it on the ground.
I was going to say, you've probably got more experience with all of that than either of us put together.
Learning on the ground in the
Mhm.
South Bronx, but being able to experience something in a situation where it isn't going to impact your life can allow you to make decisions later on based upon the RPG. It's a learning experience for a
That's
lot of
it.
people.
Like it's trying new behaviors without a consequence, or trying new behaviors. There's a consequence in game, but not a direct one on you as a person, in your realm. But yet you get all that learning
Right.
and experience from playing a certain character and having certain things go really well for you or not go well for you.
But also the one of the many beautiful things about role-playing games traditionally, and also what I'm trying to do with the book is because it's specifically in one-to-one therapy, but one of the things we all love about them is the community, the social aspect.
Yeah.
You sit down with a bunch of friends, you make up silly voices, you do crazy escapades, and you just enjoy yourself. And we are fundamentally social creatures.
Yes.
If we don't get wholesome, fulfilling interactions with people, the chemicals in our brain go out of whack, and all of a sudden it's a downward slope. And as an exercise of self-care, RPGs ought to be mined for gold because they're just excellent. And so when you use it in a therapeutic setting, so you've just got the client and the practitioner, who social worker, therapist, counselor, whatever role they're in, you're building that rapport. You're giving this individual a relationship that they might not have anywhere else. You just a sense of fun. Just, I can do what I want here. Let go of my worldly inhibitions,
right,
and just be. And I don't know about either of you, but I know that growing up, I could have done with a bit more of that.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. Well, now Tammy is a professional educator, and she's like I had teens with behavioral or emotional trauma that used RPGs to escape. While they felt out of control in the real world, they felt entirely powerful and in control in their RPG world.
100%. Yeah.
It's a safe space.
Yeah.
And not
And that is the key word, safety. And it's if you can feel safe, if you can do anything you want and know that what happens in the RPG stays in the RPG,
right,
so to speak. And yeah, you can be whoever you want. You don't have to be you anymore. because that's the problem with a lot, especially teenagers. They're not yet comfortable in their own skin. They're like,
Yes.
who am I? Who am I supposed to be? Well, you don't have to answer those questions anymore. It's like, who can I be? I can be the mighty warrior who pulverizes things with the power of his muscles. You know, I can
Right.
be the Rock going. I mean, I'm definitely not the Rock,
And
or you know, cast spells, and that feeling of not being at the bottom of the heap can just, again, for some teenagers, it's almost an epiphany.
Yeah.
You know, life doesn't have to be like this, and this, whatever it is, isn't necessarily going to last forever.
Yeah. And L makes a good point. What happens in the therapy session stays in the therapy
Yes,
session.
just the same.
Not wrong. Although,
Except
actually, I mean, certainly
circumstances.
from my end, yes. Oh yeah. By the way, you should have seen. I spoke to Adam earlier, and oh yeah, he got out a sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull," and turned into He-Man. I mean, come on. But actually, a large part of it, and it's fascinating and so lovely to watch, is over time with some clients really turn into their characters.
Yes.
So they start off, you know, they create this idealized version of themselves. Oh, I wish I was like this. I wish I was like that. And then we kind of examine the character, say, well, why can't you do that? And then as sessions go by, they come in and go, yeah, I thought, well, what would my character do in this situation? And did that. And I'm like, okay, and how'd that go? It went really well. And so, yes, as you say, what happens in therapy stays in therapy, but sometimes it's bleed at the end of the day.
That's fine. If it's good bleed, all right. If it's helping them improve, well, that's the whole point. Now, I'm going to ask you a question from the gaming side of this. Is this rules forward, or are you generally, for the most part, you're moderating the rules? They don't need to really think hard about it. Like Rachel's first session role playing, where I chose a game that I knew that nobody would know at the con, Time Master, but I knew the game master, and I knew the game, but I knew everybody would be in a situation where the GM would have to explain, and they wouldn't have to worry about the rules. They would just make their dice rolls.
So in the book, it's really cool because he lays out like a character sheet and explains sort of how to use this and how to use it in a therapeutically meaningful way too. And then also like he puts it very simple, you know, like sort of if you've been to North Texas and you play the Sunday morning game with Jen Green, Jen Green runs that game, and she just brings it down to the simplest bit. You know, your character, you all have this mission in common, or obstacle that you have to overcome. And then, you know, it's like it goes around to, she explains the scenario, and then it goes on to like, well, what are you going to do? And then you explain what you're going to do. And, you know, it goes from there. In hers, it's more like, you know, you roll the dice and she'll tell you what happens to you.
Okay. Well,
and so something I thought was,
it's not rules forward, then if the rules kind of are out of sight. That's why I like it, by the way. I like my RPGs where you don't have to think about the rules, that they kind of meld into the background. They don't become an issue. It's not like 5e, which has it's a fine game, but it's just got too much going on for it to sit behind and just.
I feel like it's more about the narrative too, because like you talk about in the book too that, you know, when say for example, like they have this obstacle and then they're like, so describe how you overcome this obstacle. And so the person, like he's trying to help that person describe in very vivid detail what they did and what the struggle was like, and you know how they got to where they are.
Yeah.
Wow, you actually did your homework.
I know. I did.
I don't play.
because the big problem with using any RPG well, not any, the vast majority of RPGs on the market is that they are all so big.
Right.
They're designed for groups of players, not one-to-one sessions. If you want to get anything meaningful out of it, you've got to play for 2, 3, 4 hours. Therapy sessions are about 50 minutes.
Yeah.
If you want to create a character in 5e, that's going to take you a couple of hours.
Yeah.
People don't come to therapy to do paperwork. And can you imagine playing Pathfinder in a therapy session?
I've never played it. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, and
also
or trying to find the grapple rule in AD&D.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know about this thing.
You hand waved unarmed combat. Like, oh, you want to pummel somebody? No, you're not allowed.
No,
you got to use a weapon.
And so the whole point of this is to, the book is all about simplifying it so that, because you've got two types of people who might try this. You've got your geek therapists who already know that RPGs are amazing and just want a way to use it. But there's also that much larger group of therapists and practitioners who are just on the lookout for the next cool thing, but haven't got the time or the brain power, frankly, to go, look, so I need to do this, then I do that. So you know what? I'm just going to go and get them to draw a picture. I've got shit to do. And so just condensing it down to, okay, the system is you roll a die. Okay, yeah, it works.
Yeah. Even the math is simple in the book. Like I was looking at the how you sort of give where the hit points are, how much points you'll give to the weapon or the ability, and that kind of thing. And then like what happened, how much damage a person can do, or how much damage or how much consequence the person can get, like negatively, and like it breaks it down to be simple. I think a lot of us become math. A lot of us become therapists because we don't like math. Like we don't.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. There was a time when I could do it.
You have a question. Don from Wizard Tower Games, as a therapist, what in your experience is the success rate of this type of therapy? And maybe instead of using the term success, maybe I should say positive progress.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
That is okay. Oh, sorry. Did you see that? I was about to do that really cringe. Oh God, that's a really good question. Just to kind of buy myself time to answer it. In my personal experience, and this is, I really, it's like clench your arsehole just in case this goes bad kind of thing. So far, it's been about 100%.
Wow.
You've got to choose the clients who you use it with. I will say that, it is not. I know some clients off the top of my head. If I said, "Oh yeah, we're going to play an RPG today," they would look at me like I had just lost what half of a brain cell I still possess. They just go, no, and I would never see them again. So you've got to make sure that the person involved is going to get something out of it. But it's so versatile that you can use different parts in different scenarios. And so, yeah, touch woods, 100% so far. It's bound to happen sooner or later where it doesn't get the result I want, but so far, it's the success, and the success stories aren't just, they felt a bit better. It is, pick your jaw off the floor kind of, whoa, you're different.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so I think I'm hedging my bets with that answer. So far, it's
Right.
100%, but the reason it's 100% is because I've been very, very careful with who I use it with.
Right. Well, it has to be somebody, I guess, who like identifies and understands the RPGs and loves it. And then the person also is ready to work. This might not be, something that like somebody who's like mandated to some type of therapy or
Right.
treatment
Oh, yeah.
might be ready for,
Yeah. I mean, you get out of therapy what you put into it. If you
Yeah.
come into it determined to put in some effort, make some change, challenge the thoughts and the feelings that have been holding you back, you will power through it and you'll be a completely different person in the space of a few months. If you approach it like the therapist is there to do the work for you, come on, kid,
Yeah.
why haven't you changed me yet?
Right. Nothing's going to work for that
Nothing's
person.
going to work.
'Cause-
And
Well,
yeah.
that's kind of like expecting medicine to do 100% of the work for you if you
Yes.
got an issue, as opposed to lifting your own load. Just of heart failure, lose some weight, get into better shape, get some walking
Yeah.
in, eat healthier. Don't just expect the meds to cover it all.
Mm-hmm.
Just of heart failure. Speaking from experience.
I mean, at the end of the day, people get prescribed meds for a reason, and they are very helpful. I mean, I'm on meds, and I'm on 23 tablets a day because I've got just about everything wrong with me under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but at the same time, meds alone will help you feel better, but whatever that means, but it won't undo the underlying issues that caused you to feel the way you feel. Again, it all boils down to the amount of effort you're going to put in and practice. Feeling better, again, whatever that means, is all about practice. If you've just got to practice being happy. I know that sounds weird, but that's all it is.
Yes.
You've got so much practice being depressed, because if you wake up depressed, you spend all day depressed, and you go to bed depressed, tomorrow morning you're going to wake up depressed. Whereas if you just do something, force yourself to get a hobby, RPG, by the way, give yourself these little drips of contentment, all of a sudden it builds up and you're not quite as bad the next day. But you've got to put the effort in.
Well, I think that you answered Don's follow-up. He was, and I know Don personally, so he goes, I'll be a bit more open in my question. How about parents who deal with the death of a child? But then he follows up with understood. So I think that you inadvertently gave him a bit of an answer to that question.
Right.
So
I hope so. I mean, there's nothing I can say in the world it will be meaningful enough for a person in those situations. The most important thing is, look, you've got to look after yourself. You've got to recognize that it would be weird if you didn't feel
right,
terrible in situations like that.
Of course.
And it will take time, but the key thing that I find, and I don't know if Rach has experienced this in her work, people come to therapy because they've run out of hope.
Yeah.
Life is terrible. They perceive life to be terrible, and there's no way of it ever getting better. That's the rut they're in. And a big job is going, well, actually, it doesn't have to be like this all the time. It will get better, but you've got to, A, be patient enough for that time to come, but B, just take steps towards it. And
and trust the process a little bit.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how horrible it must be for those individuals who have lost their child.
Right. You know what it is? It's like you're always going to have pain. It's always going to hurt. It's always going to be there. But how you manage it and cope with it is going to be different.
Yeah. And to use the example of an RPG in that situation, I mean, you would have to be very careful. You were talking the thinnest of thin ice here. But you would give their characters an opportunity to explore the feelings
Mm.
that they're feeling. You do it, like I say, step by step. You would not throw them into an equivalent situation and say, there, deal with it. But again, by making everything the character's problem, letting the characters take all the risks, you've got that arm's length. It's like, yeah, you can stay over there, I'm over here, and let's think about this as if it's happening to somebody else. And we're always so much better at giving advice to other people than we are to listening to it from ourselves.
Yeah.
And so if we say, well, what would you say to that person in these circumstances? Okay. Do you think that could apply to you? And just little things like that would be my longer answer to that question. I hope that's helpful.
Tammy, she goes, this goes back to what you were talking about before, because it makes sense to her, because in my work and intense training through Boys Town, he's not heavy, he's my brother. We use role-playing social situations to help our teams tackle making tough choices.
Sure.
100%. I mean, therapeutic role play has been a thing since therapy existed.
Yes.
And that's why none of the quote, if you want to call it theory, in my book goes, none of it is controversial, shall we say, because it's stuff that's been done since Freud was sleeping with patients. But the difference between therapeutic roleplay and what we know as RPGs is therapeutic roleplay tends to be a bit more directive also, but also more real worldy, as in, if so and so were here, what would you say to them? Okay, let's imagine this scenario. What would you like to do in that scenario? Whereas so you're very much keeping the focus on the client. It's like, what would you do? How would you feel? And the big issue with all of this, if you ask a client how they're feeling, what they would do, what they would say, what they're thinking, for some people it can be a bit much, especially for the younger ones who are still trying to figure out who they are, and they're just going to run a mile. You ask them, so how do you feel? They're like, I don't know, bye.
Yep, that's team.
Whereas give them the RPG, put on a stupid voice like I'm a goblin. Yes, I'm gonna. Oh yes. Oh, you look nice and squishy. Yes, I'm gonna. Oh, you've killed me. Nobody will take you seriously if you put that voice on, and so they'll be more willing to come back. And as that trust builds, as that safety and security builds, they'll feel more able to tackle the issues that have plagued them.
Let's see. Naughty Professor. Biggest thing for me personally about RPGs is creativity. And for me, I can get that high from being creative, and creativity gives me that hope.
Beautiful.
I mean, and I think, Elle was talking earlier about, people trying to use basically their regular RPG group as their therapy session. And I think I experienced that once in college, and it never works, because you can always tell the one person who is not just trying to control everything, but everything is about them because they're suffering in their own life or not having a happy life, and they want RPG session to fix it all. That's not what David is here talking about, because it's not. Regular RPG sessions are good for you because you get the social.
My name's Daniel. Sorry,
Daniel.
I was like,
somebody else called you David earlier, and I was like, that's.
I thought that, but I thought, maybe you were referring to somebody else. That I didn't know. Oh, okay. No, sorry.
No, it's okay. Listen, when I was a sergeant in NYPD, I told my cops the best thing about this job, this department, is that you all wear name tags, because I am horrible with names. I will forget your name, but now I can pretend I know it because I can read it off your chest. But RPGs are not meant to somebody needs honest to God therapy, it's not going to fix them by playing in your local group.
No.
But if you are somebody who is overall well, you will often come out from your game session feeling psyched and happy. You had a good time.
Yeah, there was a release of something.
The endorphins kick in, and it's a socialization experience. And I am very surprised that with a good group of friends throughout the country, I can get that from a virtual tabletop and video that I would normally be getting at a physical table.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's because we've already have this strong bond going on.
But that's different
It's
from
different.
a therapeutic
Therapeutic,
process.
yeah, the therapeutic process is different. Again, it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's not meant for you to I don't know, try to transpose your experiences in the therapy session to, I don't know, your home game session or whatever. I don't think that the two intermingle that well.
Have you ever tried this with group therapy, or is it just too cumbersome?
Well,
or maybe their safety is compromised when there are other individuals, because you don't know what they're going to do.
Group therapy again has been a thing for decades, and no, but me personally, no, I've never done it with groups. It's one of those things I keep saying, oh, I should give it a try, but I'm like, no. Let's just stick in our comfort zone. But oddly enough, just to take you up on the VTT side of things, interestingly, I only work remotely. I all of my clients I see online, and I don't use a VTT. It's all just what we're doing here, and theatre of the mind is just love it so much.
I mean, the funny thing about VTTs is I use Roll20 when I run games, and years ago when Roll20 was first hitting their stride, they saw me talk about it on my blog, and they wanted me to record a session on YouTube of me and my group. And I told them, quite honestly, I said, well, first off, if you recorded my group, you'd have to cut out about 3/4 because of the kidding around, vulgar content, vulgar language, politically incorrect jokes, because just a bunch of guys going off. But I said, on top of that, I go, all I use is fog of war to reveal maps. I don't even use counters, and I don't use character sheets. I just use the virtual dice. I am a minimalist, and Roll20 never got back to me after that. It was like I didn't.
They were like, "Okay, thank you so much."
I'm not even that, because I like the theater of the mind.
Like,
I want
run.
I want my play. I don't want them thinking of moving a token. Point on the map where you're at. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me exactly where you are. That to me is what makes the game sticking up here. And I would assume if you're doing this as a therapy session, you don't want the distraction of moving tokens or anything. You want the whole game in the mind, because you're working on the mind. You need to keep it in in that one place.
I mean, there are arguments for and against. I mean, some clients like to have something just to do with their hands. We've got fidget spinners and so miniatures. Miniatures are cool. I used to play Warhammer. Yes, but I used to play Dark Elves, and they're not bringing them back. I mean, come on, guys, what? But just to answer that question about people who come and use their local group for their own private therapy, RPGs are inherently therapeutic. You again, as we've said, you are talking to other human beings, you're developing that bond, you're getting the dopamine hits when people smile at you, and as you say, make jokes, josh about. But as soon as you turn up and say, right, we're making this about me and my issues, you become that guy who's constantly running anything. But B, also, it's just really unfair on the people they're playing with, because that's going to ruin their gaming experience. But depending on the issues that they're bringing, if you're a really traumatized individual and you're putting your trauma into this game, that is going to vicariously traumatize the people
Right,
you're
you're
playing
spreading
with. That, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're turning up intent on using your local game as your own outsource of angst and anger,
Mm-hmm.
and describe some horrific scene that happened to you, I completely get why you would want to do that, but don't do that to other people, because they're going to go away. We've
Right.
all had moments where somebody's told you something and it's really shook you up, and you don't want that from something that you do for enjoyment. And if you
Right.
need therapy, go to a therapist.
Go to the right door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You carry on, by all means. Go to your local gaming group and play, because your life is many times better for having it there.
Yes.
But make sure you don't mistake the fact that it is therapeutic for it being therapy.
Nice.
I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah. David, by the way, a fellow bird of yours, read bedtime
Hi,
stories.
Daniel.
Yes, that's it. See, David, it's all your fault, Dave. Read bedtime stories to your young relatives to practice the voices, and you won't feel self-conscious doing it.
Nice. That's a good way.
My son, like I say, I was a stay-at-home dad, and he used to love. We had a book called Brave Sir Timmy, and it had but brave Sir Timmy was not scared. Brave Sir Timmy did not falter. And you can't help but get into the swing of it, where you just it
becomes
being
fun.
silly.
Yeah.
Is a wonderful thing, and especially over in the quote unquote West, we think, oh, I'm an adult now, I need to behave like one. Well, A, what does that mean? And
Exactly.
B, actually, no.
Maybe some circumstances, but not all.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be 24/7.
You can have an area that you
know.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of work that therapists do, and I personally do, is with and this I hate describing it because it sounds so hippie, So if you're going to San Francisco, make sure you put flowers in your hair, kind of stuff. But we do a lot of work with the inner child,
Yes.
Because especially with children who had difficult upbringings, you carry your child around with you. I will always have that little boy inside me. I grew up in a military family, so I moved around all over the shop. I went to about a dozen different schools. And that, I now realize, isn't most people's experiences. My people in my son's school have known, the parents there literally went to school with each other themselves, and I'm like, what, huh? That's really. And so I've got that. I just have that feeling of not necessarily belonging anywhere, and that's something that kid who I was is still with me, and he needs a hug every now and again. And the same thing goes for the little Tenka, the little Rach, and just they need a hug, they need fun, they need silliness. They just want to be told a story. They want to be brave Sir Timmy. And I'm genuinely lost for words. Thank you so much.
That was Don. Don is on the. By the way, folks, the link that is on the screen will take you to the Amazon site if you want to check out the book. Mr. Gunn, oh my God, Daniel Hand is describing why I left the hobby for 20 years. I did not want to deal with the headaches and socially inappropriate.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But what I would say, I mean, I hope you're back. But if you're not, the big scenario that had us all locked away in our homes for an extended period of time, which I gather we're not allowed to say on YouTube anymore.
I don't know.
That's
we Rach and I don't care about like being monetized. We don't.
Yeah, but the thing we all know what I'm talking about actually did so much for therapy because
Yeah.
now you don't have to go to some
the
random place in the middle of
Yep.
nowhere to speak to somebody. You can just turn your phone on and talk to me.
Yes.
And the same goes for RPGs. And so you don't, if your group is full of head cases and inappropriate play, now you have so much power to go, do you know what? I'm done with you guys. Screw you guys. I'm going home, and just
Right.
go over and play with another
Just
one.
keep trying something different. Make
Yeah,
sure you
so
shop around for the right fit.
20 years was a long time ago in terms of technology. So if you're not back yet, please come back.
Don, again, within the community, there are many who do not like a DM when a DM asks players if there are any topics that are off limits. Do you think this is a positive thing to do in normal game sessions? And I'm guessing normal would mean with your regular group. Normal.
Okay.
How I would run a game with my regular group.
Maybe with a
and with-
convention group, those things are
Right.
Hmm.
more-
a good thing, or you just don't venture into certain areas where you can anticipate
right.
somebody not feeling well.
If you're playing with people you've known for years,
Yeah.
you probably already have a good idea, A, of what people don't want to talk about, and B, more able to say, look, I'm not happy with this, guys. There is a group of individuals who are out there going, oh, everybody today, a bunch of snowflakes needing X cards, and you'll just grow a pair. Yeah, but we don't know why they feel that way. I personally don't use X cards or anything like that because, put it this way, if a therapist doesn't know how to keep their client safe, they should not be doing their job.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it in a normal game, it's also going to depend on the game. If you're playing a game of 5e, odds are, quite tame. You're probably not. It would be unusual for you to come up against something shocking and horrifying. If you're playing a game of Die, which I haven't played yet, but oh my god, I have to play it. Have you seen Die?
No.
Oh, come on. No. So Die is written by and based on a comic a chap called Kieran Gillen wrote a few years ago about a bunch of kids who get together, play an RPG, and get sucked into the RPG.
Oh, lovely.
And then come out a few years later completely traumatized by what they faced. So he wrote the comic, and then he wrote the RPG based on it. And it's by Rowan Rook-and-Deckard, who, as far as I can say, do no wrong, but the art is cool. But it is designed specifically to traumatize players' characters. So if you're gonna play a game like this,
another group.
Another group, but also safety mechanisms. Just say, look, because if, for example, you say that your character was in an abusive relationship, then the idea would be that their character would eventually run into a monster that has the face of their abuser in it.
Right.
Not the kind of thing you want to use with people who have been struck by things like that. So with a game like this, which is it's so amazing. I haven't played it yet, but I've got to. Use your safety mechanisms. But if you're with friends you've known for a long time, don't complicate it. Just do what feels natural. And if you make a mistake, again, whatever that means to you, and somebody ends up being a bit upset, communicate, talk, let them, ask them. Don't be precious. If you don't make mistakes, you're not human. So.
Well, and I kind of smirked when you said it isn't in 5e. Apparently, going around Facebook today is from an upcoming or newly released 5e product, which has a content warning on the page where if your players aren't comfortable being transformed into whatever, give them all a warning and let them know that this could happen to their character if they don't want to lose control of their character. So I don't know if that means that 5e is stepping into more dangerous grounds, or if 5e is deciding that things that old school gamers normal is maybe not. It depends. Again,
did it say what it was? Is this something?
I wasn't looking at it closely. It just passed through my.
I don't know what this is referring to, but
I wasn't
There-
paying
there's the
attention.
problem is big companies need to cover their backsides, and so they right, we'll put a warning there, that way people can't come
Right.
back to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to reach the stage, and I know this is going to make me sound old, but purely because companies have to keep themselves safe from lawyers,
Right.
there'll be a case where this book contains a warning: the sun might be a bit hot today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We are not
You know,
responsible for the sun. If you have any problems with the sun, please see the creator.
Yes, indeed. And I personally think it's unnecessary, but people do unnecessary things all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
people take people to court for literally zero cause. So you've
Yeah,
got,
quite true.
yeah, and they've got to cover the backsides. I mean, there are other practices with Wizards of the Coast that I have more issues with, put it that way. But yeah, that's the way the world is, I'm afraid.
Tammy, Daniel, there's a brilliant way to describe it, that you're carrying around your childhood
Yeah.
and any other big highs and big lows.
Yeah.
David
Thank
T, we ran a campaign for a bunch of disabled kids back in the 80s.
Cool.
It was amazing to see them living out the adventures with their characters, doing all the swashbuckling things they couldn't do in real life.
Please tell me you're doing that again. That's. I mean, I got the feels just reading that. You know what I mean? It's wonderful.
Trying to catch up here. We had a dice tower for one lad who couldn't handle dice very well. He laughed every time he sent the dice across the floor.
And who doesn't want that? That's just adorable. Yeah.
Yeah. David suffers from pretty bad arthritis. He goes, I was promised therapy 4 years ago, still waiting.
I'm not that kind of therapist, but
yeah.
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I'm on 23 pills a day. The vast majority of those are for chronic pain. So I get it, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that gets itself sorted, chap.
Okay, I'm just trying to catch up here. Oh, Mr. Gunn, I cannot stand the X card for adults. If you're not mature enough to speak up, you should stick to computer games. Too many folks unwilling to deal with life head on. Again, if I'm at a convention and I am running something that I would go, the stuff that might make people uncomfortable, I'll warn the group ahead of time. But if it has spiders in it, I'm not going to think, well, somebody might have arachnophobia. You know, that's something that if you are a player that has that big of an issue, pull your GM aside and give them a heads up. Listen, if there's any of this might come up, just so you know, I don't handle it well. That's not a bad thing to do.
I mean, it's basic manners at the end of the day. If you're in a con, you're with people you've never met before.
Yes.
You know, you don't be a dick, but at the same time, it's not unreasonable to expect them to not be dicks either. You know, it's
right.
Oh God. Yes, David.
I want those dice.
Dice will have a warning. You never know. Oh my God. I should talk to oh God. Ben Burns. Ben does custom dice.
Oh yeah.
So I should see if you can.
Why would you tell me this? Why would you tell me that you know somebody who does custom dice? Look, I don't have a problem.
Those be awesome though. I'd love to see them at a convention. David, I'm gonna pitch that idea to him.
Yeah, and give me some.
Mr. Gunn, it's a bit weird that somebody would be offended if the GM is trying to understand the group boundaries. Perhaps the GM is not explaining the intent well enough.
Right.
Yep. No, you're not the adorable Dave. I know you too well.
I'm staying out of that one. You two have got history, obviously.
Nah, I love David, but
that to me sounds like a man with experience.
Are you calling him a junior now, David? Because 23 pills got off my lawn. I know.
Sir, I take my hat off to you. Wow.
So,
But yeah, just
yeah,
words to live by.
Mr. Gunn, it's well said. I'm not going to say it because that might be a word that.
I think so.
It might be a trigger for some people.
Yeah. God help us.
Sorry, the look of despair on your face when you said that. I'm sorry. It was just like, oh God, why?
I said a word that is common, fairly common in the vernacular over in, I guess, the British Isles. I know the Irish use it a lot in America, and I used it in reference to an individual, and then my video within like 5 minutes was completely demonetized. And I went,
Yeah.
So then I said rhymes with bunt, a baseball term. And that's video. And that got
because they knew
demonetized.
already.
They already knew. They were already following that one. And it's,
You were already
I
marked.
thought that particular word was less acceptable. So it was more acceptable in the US than it is over here. Over here, that particular word is right up there with the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I've learned something.
Oh yeah, just FYI, Tammy Varel, she like Rach is the real deal when it comes to Karen. Yes.
Yeah.
Tammy Varel. I'm afraid I don't know that name.
Tammy is the one that's been. She's the educator that's been commenting. Tammy.
Oh, if you don't mind, I'm just going to write that name down. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we have a very good community on the Saturday night show.
That we do.
Well, as I say, I've just started my own YouTube channel, and it's like, oh, I need people.
Well, hold on a second. I'm gonna put
and Tom has the channel.
Hold on a second. I'm going to put a link to your channel here.
Oh, great.
But I'll also add it to the show notes
and
a pinned comment, so folks can.
Oh, that's really sweet of you. Thank
go
you.
and
I just did a half-hour gush about the One Ring role-playing game and why I love it so much, and
are you playing the new edition or the prior edition?
I have only played the prior edition, but obviously I own every single thing that is, and just spent a ridiculous amount of money on Moria because A, it's Lord of the Rings, and B, it's Free League. Tell me anything the Free League does wrong these days.
The starter set was
set is probably. I said it in the video. Like I say, I recorded the video last week.
Yeah.
The starter set to the One Ring is probably the best single RPG product I've ever seen. It is just stunningly beautiful.
James is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So Free League reached out to him. This is a little bit behind the scenes story, and asked him, James, like, we'd like to have you work on a starter set because he'd done some work on the prior edition, and like, do you want to do the setting or the rules? And he just answered yes.
Yes.
And they're like, no, that's which do you want to do? He goes, yes.
All of the above.
Is it really? I go, all right, it's all yours. And he did an amazing job with that. Oh my God.
Yeah, I just tell you what, word for word, that would be my answer. Oh, 50. Thank you.
Doesn't
it? And those cloth maps, Mr. Gunn,
I still have some of my maps from the Iron Crown Enterprises days. Those were beautiful looking maps.
They were on cloth too?
No, they weren't. But this is the early days of RPGs, and Iron Crown Enterprises had the Tolkien license. So I still have a few of the original stuff. I had the original Middle Earth RPG.
The maps for MERP are so good. They're so detailed. I mean, obviously, apart from the liberty they took where they completely redesigned all of Middle Earth, but the actual ones they've got of the known area, they're just gorgeous. I have a thing for fantasy maps. I draw them all the time. if a fantasy book doesn't have a map in it, I genuinely go, yes, but is it that good?
Aw.
Really,
David T. freely glued the Middle Earth map into my core book. I tore the inside cover of the book trying to remove the map.
how did they do that? Oh, no, good lord! I just give. I mean, come on, Free League's a cool bunch of people. Just call them and say, "Look, you've sent me a damaged product. I want better," because they will.
Mr. Gunn, David on the fence about the Eridor and Shire cloth maps.
I personally think they are things of beauty. The one of Eriador, I mean, the Shire I can give a take, but why not? But oh no, I didn't like that. Oh, thank you, Tommy. That's beautiful.
I gotta say the Harm maps are pretty damn good.
You can't argue. Can't argue.
All right, I like this guy.
They are just the amount of detail. I mean, because no, okay, I'm going to stop because I was about to just go on a rant about how just yes.
I feel like an insufficient geek, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't worry, Race. This is all stuff from before we got married. This is, my MERP stuff is probably all in storage, so you haven't seen it, so you can't.
Oh, okay.
This is just right here.
Oh yeah.
Because
I know we saw that.
You know,
it's precious. There we go.
I just did that live again. What? You've got to stop me before I do these things.
I can't stop you. Sorry. That's why it's live.
That's what's so special.
But I mean, yeah, I adore maps of pretty much any persuasion. I've got so many books on them. I draw them all the time. Yeah, Merp was very good. I would say that at times, it took a few too many liberties with the material, and B, sometimes it felt a bit too
generic.
I didn't like to say that, but yeah, I mean, the beauty of the One Ring that I personally think is that it feels like you're in Middle Earth, whereas Merp and the Decipher game just didn't quite scratch the itch for me. But if they had taken out the Middle Earth thing and because is it the Shadow of the Dark Master or something like that came out a few years ago that was heavily inspired by Merp?
That's the clone of Roll Master.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was kind of like scratching the serial numbers off.
Yes, yeah, because that is an amazing game. I mean, terrifyingly complex, but awesome. And I think personally for me, that it does better like that than it does as being a Middle Earth thing. But that's because you're talking to somebody whose favorite Tolkien thing isn't even the Silmarillion. It's one of the histories of Middle Earth, edited by his son. I am that nerd. I'm afraid so.
It's okay. I mean, I was Silmarillion. I trudged through. It was not an easy read for me, and then we had what was it, the Lost. The ones his son was doing to fill the gaps in, taking his notes. I couldn't. They read too much like textbooks.
I have the folio edition. It's got a shiny cover and the big map that comes out the back.
Yeah.
I just I love the Silmarillion. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's.
You have that too?
I have the book. I just haven't. I mean, I would go back and reread The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings at a moment's notice. Love the British audio plays of both, especially The Hobbit. The Hobbit is just awesome. But the Silmarillion was just a drier read for me. My sister loved it, so I can't say otherwise. And by the way, when it came to the Middle Earth stuff from Iron Crown Enterprises, the settings. If you got like Angmar or one of those setting books, they were 9 out of 10 minimum. But if you bought an adventure, it was generic shite that could have been played with AD&D or D&D, and it didn't feel like it was Tolkien. It just felt like they just, I don't know, scraped off D&D, put the Rollmaster stats in there.
I had not made that connection. Yes, you are absolutely right, because I love Angmar. Angmar
was
is
my first one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
But I hadn't actually put two and two together. You are absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
Tammy, Eric, this is great that Daniel is on Gamers Health, but you need to add him to one of your weekly guest appearances on another night. People will love him.
Yeah.
Well, that would be Wednesday night with Bad Mike.
Yeah.
And if you've never watched one of our Wednesday nights, they are rollicking, rolling. And the first hour is just us and the guest, back and forth, riffing on what you're doing, and then the last 45 minutes is usually riffing on the RPG industry in general. Usually we call it This Week in Watsy Stupid, but sometimes it's This Week in Gaming Stupid.
This week in Watsy.
Watsy Stupid.
There is a crack in the sky.
Yeah. What crap did they do? But yeah, you'd certainly be welcome to come back and spend
so time on there.
What are the difference between the new and the old the One Ring games?
The art, the new ones against the Dark Master. Thank you. The new ones are very much more like a homage to Alan Lee, John Howe, their kind of arts. Whereas the original edition is it John Hodgson? Is that the chap's name?
I believe yes.
But in terms of I was going to say something deep and meaningful then, but I've forgotten. But in terms of gameplay, it's more that there haven't necessarily been many changes so much as they've chipped away the rough edges. So the journey rules are similar, but they're more convoluted in one way because you've got to literally kind of map out hex by hex where you're going, but that kind of makes it easier on the lore master, so it balances it out.
Okay.
It's if you played the first game, you will have zero issue picking up the new one. I mean, it's and in many ways it is improved. So a big issue I had with the Cubicle 7 edition was that if you wanted to create a character for a new culture, it had something like 3 or 4 pages that you had to go through. The Free League one, everything about your heroic culture is on one spread. To the next page, that's the next culture. To the next page, that's the next culture. It's Free League at the end of the day, so you know what you're getting. You open it up, it is just amazingly well organized. You know where everything is. It's of the most incredible quality and cloth maps. But at the same time, if you've got Cubicle 7 and you can't be bothered doing anything else, you just stick with it. It's incredible. I mean, I just love that picture on the front of Darkening of Mirkwood. It just, to me, it screams Middle Earth, but also the idea that your characters were part of the story, but they were just off screen. You know, they were there when Gandalf attacked Dol Guldur, but you know, their story never got to. Yeah, I completely agree. Free League is just. Yeah, I like I say, there are 2 companies in the world who I think can do no wrong, and Free League is one, Rowan Rook and Deckard are the other, and just you know, I would serenade them if they didn't live in a different country.
Wow.
bit of a commute, yeah.
You got the internet. You can just, gotta find them online first. You
they wouldn't want to hear me sing.
Well, okay, that's fair enough. Rach can sing. I can't, so we just leave it at that. It's like, do you want to do karaoke? Yeah, I'll record.
Yeah, I'll do the William Shatner version. Yeah, just
Oh.
yeah.
Well,
Oh
Shatner
yeah, remember those songs?
or Leonard Nimoy, didn't they both do?
I don't know Leonard Nimoy.
I think Leonard did something too.
Yeah, I don't recall, but
Thinking of
now you've
techno.
said that, I think you could be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
I'm sure.
the Zach Brannigan one from Futurama? I met her in a bar in Old Soho, where you what was it? Where you drink champagne and it tastes just like Coca-Cola, COLA, cola.
Hold on.
It's just
Oh, so David says he has the Nimoy CD. All right.
Aw.
So I was not misremembering. Didn't he do one that was about like Tolkienish stuff? Like I remember
Oh,
a
that's
horrible
right.
video with Leonard Nimoy, and maybe it wasn't Tolkien, maybe it was just the ears because they were kind of. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to figure it out. Did one on the beach with a bunch of young women. All right. I, God help
That's what
me.
it's all. The girls are all about the
We
ears,
have to look
apparently.
for it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting scared now. Mr. Gunn sings like bagpipes in a blender. Okay, well, that's,
I mean, I'm a little worried about how you know what bagpipes in a blender sounds like, but fair enough.
Nimoy did do a Hobbit song. I was
Oh.
right. Thank you, Naughty. See
You're
now
showing
I'm
your
gonna,
age now. Come on.
Was it when the movie came?
no.
Oh.
It had nothing to do with. I'm gonna have to do a quick here. Leonard, the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, sung by Leonard Nimoy. Oh my God!
I don't know if I have the courage to listen to that.
All right, I'm gonna cue that up for later, but I'm gonna put the link in the chat because see, I didn't misremember. I just didn't properly remember because my brain
I don't
probably
think I
didn't
ever
want to.
saw or heard of that.
Chap, if it happened before this morning, as far as I'm aware, it just didn't happen. You know.
Okay, so yeah, I got the link there. We put it up, so you guys can all catch that later and enjoy the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. Oh, thank you, Don. To watch it, you'll need a few more pills. After this, I'll break out my wine, and then Rach can watch it. I've seen it before, but Rach can experience Nimoy trying to sing.
The pain, the horror.
Oh, and by the way, not to embarrass Rach too much, but the Lord of the Rings movies, The Fellowship. She's like, "Don't do this to me. I love you, hon." I tried when we were dating, and shortly after we got married. I tried to watch The Fellowship with Rach, and both times she was asleep before they left Hopperton. So I haven't.
Yeah, the little guy was in the tall grass. I can't make it past. I couldn't make it past that. Maybe I can now. I don't know, but I saw it once before I met you.
Okay.
And
how long did you last that time?
I didn't get out of the grass. The little guy in the grass, and then
well, I had
the little guy in the grass.
Yeah, you must be great cook in the kitchen. That's all.
Yeah, maybe now that I have more of a concept.
She wasn't playing.
I never had a concept of this stuff.
Yeah,
younger, like.
and now you've watched The Witcher, and you've watched other stuff.
More.
How's the latest series, by the way? I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, I love it.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't as good as the first two seasons, but it was.
It left you guys going, "Oh wow!" At the end of each one.
Yes.
Because the thing is, people whine about everything. Oh, Henry Cavill's leaving. It's like, hey, if it's good, I don't care.
But we didn't see it with that new guy.
That's not come out yet.
It's not out yet, no.
Yeah.
But I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that myself because
the brother of Thor.
Yes, indeed. And plus Anya Shalhotra, just stunningly beautiful. I wish I was 10 years younger.
Mr. Gunn did not like season 3 of The Witcher. Listen, it could be worse. You could be. What's the other one that we have no interest in. Bulgarian. Wheel of Time. Sorry, Wheel of Time.
Oh right, yeah.
I
Oh
would love
no.
Wheel of Time.
The new season's come out, and we haven't had any
Yeah,
interest in catching it.
I tried reading the books, and the books were just a bit slow for me. It was just
Yeah,
and I'm dyslexic, and
Okay.
the multi-volume series terrify me. I would love to read some Brandon Sanderson. Oh my god, have you seen how big those books are?
oh my God, I got through the first, I think 2.5 books. Then I just gave up on it, and then he died in the middle of the series, and somebody else had to come in and finish it.
Yeah,
For him.
well, it was Brandon Sanderson actually who finished it off, and yeah,
Because right now I
I'm
can't
too much of
really
a coward.
remember what it was. The Wheel of
There was a Wheel of Time RPG.
Yeah, there was a Wheel of Time RPG.
I did not know that.
I might have it. I'm not sure. I do remember seeing it. It's bad when your RPG collection is so much that you can't.
You
know
can't
what Tammy
remember,
said? She's laughing at you, Rach. She's obsessed with Lord of the Rings.
She's not
Watch,
laughing at you.
maybe
Laughing
I'll
with you.
find my way there. And
We'll start you with that. We'll start. No,
they're
no.
like, oh my god,
Well,
how
actually,
did I
no.
miss this for so long?
If we start you with the Hobbit, we're going to start you with the animated Hobbit. You're going to have to watch the animated Hobbit, and maybe the animated version will get you.
We watched that Hobbit movie.
Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah, and that was fine.
Well, it was 3 movies to it.
Oh, that's only the first one, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Well, maybe just show the action. just start with the 2 towers.
There you go.
Yeah, life was different then when I tried to watch it.
You weren't retired. I understand that. And she's like, my time is too valuable.
I can be recovering for Monday.
I do have the D20 Call of Cthulhu. Yes, I do have that. There's also there's a D20 World of Darkness, but oh god, as Rachel will tell you, I have too many games.
There's no such thing.
So we have.
Well, he'll say I have too many perfumes
and shoes, but you haven't been doing too much on the shoes recently. So
no, they've been thinning out.
There is a fantastic comedian over here. He's Irish, called Dylan Moore, and he did a great sketch about see men are so much more romantic than women. It's obvious, you know. Look what happens. You know, a man meets a woman and says, "Oh, I've met this woman. She's perfect. Look, she's amazing. She's beautiful. She's smart. I have to be with her. If I can't be with this woman, I will die. It's just no point carrying on. If I cannot have this woman in my life, I might as well be dead." That's how women feel about shoes. Not wrong.
Or maybe my addiction is just more towards a perfume that I've been laying off the shoes for a while.
Yeah, perfumes take up less space.
Right, and I do move them out, like I do.
But next weekend we're going to be in Connecticut at ShireCon, which is a Friday Saturday con, and I've already told Tom, who's in charge of the con, I go, Tom, I'm bringing some stuff to donate to the con. You can auction it, you can raffle it, I don't care. But it's my oversized games that I never will play. The Ogre Kickstarter, which is a huge box, gone. The Conan board game, mini game, gone. The Batman game, gone. I have so much more space available once I get rid of it.
See, I am a huge Conan fan as well. I love Conan, especially. I mean, the original Robert East Howard stuff is just amazing. But I couldn't get into the game. The 2D20 just doesn't do it for me.
I mean, the best Conan stuff that I have that's RPG related is the GURPS solos from the late 80s.
Yeah. Oh god, that is going back, isn't it? My goodness.
Yeah, but they're well written and they play out really well. So
yeah, I think 4,000 PDFs might be a bit much, just between you and me. I'm not saying you've got a problem, but maybe
for Naughty, I don't even. First off, I'm not gonna tell you how many Kickstarter projects I backed because I got my wife sitting next to me.
It's not taking up any space at all, so you're completely fine. And your
Yeah.
bank account loves it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it just gives us permission to, like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
go sniffing and
What is this too
see what
many
we
you
can
speak of? Yeah.
find. The perfume.
Oh my god, that is awful.
David Thompson, my sister is waiting on me to die so she can sell my RPGs and buy a new car.
Aw.
Uh-huh. Oh God. You're a bunch of funny fuckers, aren't you? Oh God. I miss our local Irish pub.
The Irish know how to do it properly.
Oh God. You know.
Fill the glasses high.
Yeah, oh God. It's like I owe you I owe you a buyback. I think the last round was a buyback. Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, they just gotta hand it to them. They've got they have the commitment.
Yep, and they're like, I know. My opinion is always been like, well, they know they're going to get it back in the tip. There you go.
Yeah.
So we've been on for nearly over an hour and 20. Wow.
No, we have not.
Yes, we have.
Good Lord.
You have to get to bed at some point, I am sure.
Yeah.
It's
what
That must
I know
be.
I know David
And David too.
Yeah, we're hitting the witching hour for David.
Daniel.
I know that. No, you, Daniel, David
Yeah.
Thompson.
Oh right, okay, sorry. No,
Yeah,
well
what about you?
Yeah,
it's half past 2 here, so it's
yeah.
But put it this way, staying up to do something this time of night, no problem. If you'd asked me to get out of bed 8 in the morning, you and I would be having words.
Believe me, retirement means not getting up early in the morning.
Well, that's why I work for myself. I decide when I'm going.
Yeah, you get your own schedule. All right, so before we wind this up, Mr. Gunn has a question. Daniel, what got you to connect therapy and RPGs?
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I mentioned earlier, I was a fiction writer long before I became a therapist, and when you're doing the basic training to become a therapist, insulin, can I have some? Oh, please, I'll give you my address, just post it over to me. And you have to do those what's it called, exercises. Oh, come up with an activity that you would use with a client, or choose a hobby of yours and say how you might apply it. And I did things like drawing maps and storytelling and playing games, and so the whole creative aspect was just like a no-brainer from day one. It was like, why aren't we doing more of this? Yeah. Oh, David, you and I need to make friends. We live together. We're fine. We don't need our wives. They'll be fine. They can look after themselves. Just hit me up, right? But when it came to actually using it, it was one of those things I had in the back of my mind for a couple of years. But when you're young, when you're starting out, you're no, I've got to do it by the book because I don't have the confidence to do it. But then this young lad came along who just could not engage. He was trying so hard, bless him. We played chess, we played cards, we played Uno. We did all the stuff and just couldn't get him into it. So I thought, let's give an RPG a try. I had the D&D Essentials kit at the time. Never using D&D again in therapy. It took 2 sessions to create his character, but we created his character.
The Essentials rules, you gotta love it.
Now, did the boy have a concept of what the RPGs were, like the Dungeons and Dragons and stuff?
Sorry, say again.
Did the boy have an understanding of what the games were?
Oh yes,
he was really into it.
To him, and
that's so cool.
But the D&D was just far too complicated, and actually that's what led to the writing of that book, just to simplify it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we created a character, and it just instantly a transformed person. He wasn't in the room anymore. His character was in the room. And so it was kind of a slow burn. You know, I had this idea about using creativity in stories. Then that happened. It was like, oh, okay, there's no turning back now. This is, but it was awesome experience.
We did a school RPG at a friend's kid's school. We tied in the D&D campaign to various lessons like geography and history. The foolish
Nice.
kids did not realize they were learning while playing. And somehow the Amazon device thinks I was talking to her.
Yeah, I was like, what's she on about?
Alexa, shut up. All right, that worked.
Did you see that South Park episode where they kept saying Alexa over and over again, and people all across the US, their Alexas were going off every time they said it? It's like, Alexa, add big hairy donkey bars to my shopping list, and then Alexa's all the way across the country going, okay, I have added big hairy donkey balls to your shopping list.
No!
I was going to say something deep and meaningful then. What was it? Oh yes, the learning history and geography. Yes, it's. Hey, that's just my normal face. I've been pretending all day. Yeah, I've got a kid at the minute who we're doing an RPG so that we're just using my book because it's a system. It's a setting agnostic. You can do it anywhere, and we're playing in the Vietnam War. He wants to join up, so. And he wants to learn about a war. He doesn't know anything about Vietnam, so we're doing Vietnam. And yeah, the interest that you get from that engagement, as opposed to going, right, you learn these dates. You know,
that's good. That's the best way to learn is not realize that you're learning, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they generally say?
That's what they do say.
And getting an enthusiastic teacher. My history teacher was mad as a box of frogs, and I loved him. He was just absolutely insane, and I'll never forget him. You know, and because of him that I have piles of history books everywhere. I'm going to die in this room underneath history books. You know, it's one day the shelves are going to say, look, I can't do this anymore. I've kept you alive, Daniel, for so long. It's over now. Sorry.
Well, I had a history professor in college. He was the vice chair of the department, and he was a loon. I mean, he was my kind of a loon, but he was a loon. He taught World War II history, American history, going back to the Revolutionary War. If it had something to do with war, he did it. He smoked in class, which was not allowed, obviously.
Oh, even then?
Even then, it wasn't allowed, but he'd smoke in class. He'd flick his cigarettes out the third-story window without putting them out. And he'd always be like, so, if we had a battleship in New York Harbor, it could target the political science building with such accuracy, we could watch from the window here and watch that building go up in flames. You could hear the cries of poli-sci professors. Like, but he was awesome. He loved. It's like I'd be going, holy, he's teaching air war and World War II at the same time. I'll take them both, and it was great because it was overlapping subject matter. So I was taking two classes and getting credit for two full. But the material overlapped. It was perfect. You
get the enthusiasm from the teacher. It's just that's about medieval history. I mean, I'm a world authority on the training that British soldiers in the British Army underwent in the Second World War to fight in Burma. I did some original research in the. Okay, that sounds really knobby, but the point is, I've done some original research, and I'm just obsessed with that part of the war. Hence these shelves, and yeah, there is so much to learn that you put it in your RPG. And you can teach people that. I mean, most people watching this won't have a clue about what happened in Burma during the Second World War.
No.
But put it in an RPG, run it for them, and they'll be like, "Whoa, shit, that really happened?" Say, "Yeah, it did."
Wow.
It's that you can. Everybody here knows that RPGs are amazing. They're great for social exercises. They're great creative exercises. They're great fun, And for my purposes and people like myself and Rach, they're great therapeutic exercises. But the reason they're so great is because they're so versatile. You can do
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
You know, I mean, just to go into the theory a bit more, there's this thing called the therapeutic frame. And if you turn that into a fictional frame, you stop existing in a room. You exist in Middle Earth. You stop talking about your problems. You're talking about Frodo's problems. You know, as soon as the RPG changes everything into something a bit more manageable and a bit more fun. And if it's fun, you'll get way more out of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think I forget who said it. Was it David who said that he ran that game for those kids back in the 80s?
Yeah.
We need more people doing that. So buy the book. It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Folks, the link is at the bottom of the screen. 10 cards there. It's tavern.games/RPG therapy. Rach has been reading the book. She's been enjoying it.
Yeah, a lot.
You didn't tell me you'd read it. Oh my goodness. Is it, how horrible is it?
No, it's lovely. Like I really love the way that you break down the RPGs for people that might not have so much experience with the RPGs, and like you're very encouraging of just use your imagination.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, all the mechanics that these guys are talking about and the 5e and all of that. You know, you just bring it down to very simple terms of how a therapist could apply this. And I love the examples where you will sort of explain about a certain individual and how, like, maybe they developed their character, you know, and other things that they did, like in their therapy with it, and sort of the examples of how the tools that you have through the RPGs were used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about the book, though, was that either the editor missed it, likely, or they let me get away with it, is the fact that my book has the phrase BDSM elf fetishist in it.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, okay. It just shows that you can have many different things, and you know,
that is one of them if you want it to be.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Like, oh, okay. If the therapeutic alliance is, you know, that strong, that the person's like ready to go there, like, yeah, my character.
There is a story behind that, actually.
Okay.
That comes from the Warhammer starter set, the Warhammer RPG starter set. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played it. So what they do in the Warhammer RPG starter set is they give you each character's sheets and anything literally, and it's amazing. So they show you how each of the characters relates to all the others and what they think about them. And I wanted to play the Witch Hunter because I used to play Warhammer, and the Witch Hunter was this awesome little miniature. It's just so cool. And so I played the Witch Hunter, and it was this such a badass individual, just took everything completely seriously, but was head over heels in love with an elf on the team, and just did. And the phrase was, what her weakness is, this other character's name. So she is just Tenkar, because I can't remember what his real name was. Tenkar. She is head over heels in love with him, and it is breaking her. I was like, oh. And then after we played it, we read his, because nobody played his character sheet. So after we'd finished playing, we read his character sheet, and he was completely oblivious to her. And it's like, no, why would you do this? You know, as in he was just completely oblivious to her feelings, which had so many roleplay options. But one of the special rules for her was that because she was a religious zealot, if she flailed herself in the morning, she got extra points for something. And so she was a BDSM elf fetishist.
Damn, I actually own it, and I haven't done much more than skim through it. I got to actually run that game.
It's so. I mean, I'm not. The Warhammer RPG is a bit too crunchy for me, only because it takes a lot of brain power, and I'm like, no, this is too much. I can't handle it. But the way they put that starter set together, just having those little bits, this is what my character thinks about your character, and your character doesn't know what I think, but this is it. It encourages role play like nobody's business. It's and it comes with beautiful dice. So
There you go.
Q Workshop, I believe, did the dice.
Oh, they do.
Don't they?
I've been trying to stay away from my dice fetish for a while, but Rach always like finds them randomly placed around the house.
I'm not asking the question that immediately came to mind there. I'll just leave that between you two.
Now, as Tammy suggested, Daniel, would you be interested in coming back like on a Wednesday night with my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike, as we joke about it? Because
so, if you would be willing to have me, I would consider it an absolute privilege.
oh, awesome!
Very cool.
You know that'll be fun. The angle will be a little bit different. Mike will have.
It wouldn't all be about me.
No, it will be. It certainly will.
Mike is
what?
He has a lot. He asks the questions on the show, and
Mike
has a lot of
gaming knowledge.
He knows everything about like the whole culture.
Yes,
really.
Mike makes me seem very, very small, but Mike's been in the business as somebody who's been selling used RPGs and collectibles since like the start of eBay. So he's very into that part of the culture, and he co-runs a convention that's been around for about 15 years now out in Texas. So,
that's commitment.
They do a great job. I mean, Rach and I, our first year there, Rach thought she was going to spend her whole time like exploring Dallas.
Like, I'm going to get on a train and go into the city, going to Dallas and go shopping.
Didn't happen because first off, it's not New York City. This is Dallas.
Things are not close to.
Yeah. But
they don't really have public transport much there.
But Rach had such a great time. We got there on a Wednesday. Con started on a Thursday. Friday, she's going to me, we're coming back next year. And she didn't realize when she was saying that, Mike, who I barely didn't even know, was standing right behind us. And he was like, yeah. And then next year they had special stuff for Rach.
Yes.
they had like a gift bag for Rach.
Yes, they did.
It was very sweet. So yeah, we'll bring it back.
The beautiful thing about the RPG, because every community has its arseholes, but by and large, we just love each other, and that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm very bad with roll under systems because instinctively I'm like, you roll a die, you want a high number,
right?
And so rolling under, especially, and plus we played it on Foundry, and I don't know what it is with virtual dice. They hate me. I think I made, I'm not exaggerating when I say probably 1 in 14 or 15 rolls was successful. It was just a miserable experience. Maybe I'd created the character wrong or something like that, but it was just, like I say, I've been playing Warhammer for decades. I've got a stupid amount of miniatures, but and so I was playing it. So, oh yeah, I get that reference. I know what that means. But the system itself was just like a bit much. It's like L5R. L5R terrifies me. I want so badly to play it, but
Legend of the Five Rings.
Legend of the Five Rings.
I know I don't own any of it, but I've looked at it longingly on shelves, and I am not getting invested in this.
Yes, 100%, because I so desperately want to, but it's scary. It's like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I own that. You could kill somebody with that book.
You could. The book is more. It's the charts that intimidate. I ran it, years ago, when it first came out for my online gaming group, and the system wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good, better than I expected. However, my spellcaster had a hissy fit because he couldn't figure out what his spell was going to do until he cast it, because you have that whole swing, and he was a classic D&D player. So what I wound up doing is I wound up using a lot of their adventures and just converting them on the fly to Swords of Wizardry, which is basically like a basic original
Yeah,
AD&D.
they're very similar, aren't they? Yeah.
But the adventures are well written and they're a lot of fun. And I happen to know a number of the authors, but
it's a great other thing that drew me to it, because my favorite thing about 5e, which I stopped playing after the whole Pinkerton incident. Oh, Bushido, yes, that's an excellent. I mean, I this is going to turn some people off, but I find it very loving the Japanese as much as I do, simply because I know a lot of people who fought them in the Second World War, and it's just like, but yes, Bushido as games go is, please, just give me more of that. But yeah, the thing that I do still love about 5e is wild magic, and DCC. Every spell is wild magic.
Yeah, yeah. My spellcasters couldn't handle it. I was like, all right, I got all these adventures to run. I'll run them with a different rule set. Not a problem.
I mean, Lankmar, their box set for Lankmar is get lost. So I've got a fly going around. Just gimme.
Oh yeah, we Rach and I played with Doug Kovacs running the artist.
And is that how the game goes? Like, is it
Lankmar? We play tested a couple of Lankmar.
That's what that was.
DCC before with Lankmar, yes.
Yeah. Did you put that video online? I don't remember that one.
No, we did that. That was at North Texas. Like,
oh, okay. So
yeah, we don't put too many gaming videos online, except for we did a play test with Shadow Dark, because
I was on the fence about Shadow Dark simply because I'd spent so much money recently. But then Bunny Daniels, Dungeon Damsel, came out with a spin-off for it, and I couldn't not.
Yes, she was supposed to be on our Wednesday stream this past Wednesday, but she was feeling sick, so she should be on next Wednesday.
I'm a bit worried about her. She's been saying that. The problem is I don't know her very well, so I want to keep asking, "Are you all right?" But that would just be creepy bloke off the internet asking me personal questions. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'll hold fire." But thanks a lot, Mr. Gunn. Lovely seeing you. Thanks for your questions.
Yes,
thank you.
So,
but yeah, I hope she's okay. Awesome creator. My God, have you seen her art?
Oh, the art looks amazing, and again, Bad Mike Ballato. We both used to schedule for Wednesday nights. Now all the scheduling goes through Mike, because we had two incidents where it's like, wait,
had to.
It was good that we had guests that knew each other and happy to appear at the same time and share. But it's like, all right, this is the second time this happened, Mike. How about you'll be the final arbiter of who's on Wednesday, but I'll tell him that we want to bring on somebody to the show.
He's got a British accent and he sounds weird.
It's not David Thompson, Mike. It's not David. Oh God. Listen, I told you before we did this that you'd have a good time.
I knew from the second we first exchanged emails that I would, but you know what it's like when you meet people you admire. Sorry, did I said something nice there?
You must need you need a new prescription with your glasses, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not wearing mine only because I'm so close to the screen. I don't need it.
I cannot see a thing without mine. I mean,
okay.
you have shapes. Neither of those shapes is a face.
Okay. Understood. Yeah.
Newcastle. You're in Newcastle and you stayed up this late, sir. I salute you.
There you go.
Thank you. My goodness.
Yeah. Until I met David, I just thought of Newcastle, like the ale.
Newcastle brown ale.
Yes.
I mean, as long as it's, I assume we're talking Newcastle in the UK, not.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes. No, he's in the UK. But we used to, Newcastle brown ale was in imported from the UK. It was a great brown ale.
It's
to
really
drink.
from that Newcastle,
Yeah.
not some Newcastle, New Hampshire, or
No,
whatever.
Well,
imported.
yeah, but there's late and there's late, chap. So thank you. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
So, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And your guests, I mean,
it's an active live stream. They're very good.
But also just the questions that they ask. I mean, that's we were talking about engagement earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are the people you want. Half my family work at the brewery. That is the kind of prescription you need.
Yeah.
And they show up for us. So.
They certainly do, and we have a great time with them. I mean, I said this before, and I'll say this again. I do 3 live streams a week. I do a video every day, and I look forward to Saturday nights because I stopped being 10-car. I'm just Eric as part of Eric and Reach. You know, gaming takes a step back and just talking about real life and health issues and sharing. And that's what we were doing tonight. And it was great having you with us.
And my mission with the Practitioner's Guide is to get the word out about it. And I've done that by making a system as simple as possible, as approachable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we can get the more people who just spread the word, you know, you might think the book is rubbish. If so, great. Tell other people, and maybe they'll write a better one. You know, I'm not in this for the book to do well. I'm in this for the modality to do well, if that makes sense. So
but there's so many people who here, there's so many people who work in this profession here that are really into like Comic-Con. They're into these types of things, and for someone to be able to provide that to their clients, you know, in whatever setting they can, you know, it's only a gain. So
100%.
Just like that boy that, you know, he just wasn't engaging, and then it was like, all right, this is the last thing I have.
It's a
this is the last arrow in my quiver, you know, and it's like something that reached out to so many different people.
And it works in so many different. I had another young girl who's thank you so much. It's so versatile. It can do anything you want. It is limited only by your imagination.
Yes.
And what kind of limit is that?
Yeah. Definitely. All right, folks. Cool. Again, thank you all. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
As usual, as always, be safe, be well. God bless.
Thank you.
Roll those dice. Roll them well. We'll be back with another video tomorrow. And I'm in a good mood. So it might not be the rant video I was thinking about doing. I might have something else to do because this was so rewarding.
Maybe leave that for Monday.
Yeah, maybe
have a rant during the week and stay with the good vibes.
Encourage the positivity.
Yeah.
There you go. Don got a physical copy of your book.
Don,
right.
Thank you.
David?
I did the digital, so I'd be able to see.
David, good night. All right, folks.
I'm truly touched, people. Thank you so much.
Catch you all later.
Take good care, everyone.